Good morning and welcome to my channel. Well, I'm filming this in the morning, but I'll be posting it pretty much as soon as I finish recording. This is one of those times where I'm like, damn, am I sure I don't want to talk on TikTok like that? But I have come to the understanding that I'm not a TikTok creator, even though it would be much more easier to like get these kind of takes out and put them into the world. But yeah, I'm not a TikTok creator. I don't have the takes that or the opinions that really the people really align with. I also don't want to go back and forth with folks over on TikTok. Also, when I try and post content, it doesn't really get traction. And then randomly, this video went viral.
The journey is usually the part that you remember, anyways.
Over 900,000 views. The internet is not a real place. Anyway, if I was a TikTok creator, though, I would have been put my take out about this, and I'm not, so I'm going to talk about it here. Yesterday, Tabitha Brown posted the following video.
Hello there. Real quick, that this is not to discourage you, because I want us to be clear about that first, okay? You kind of been in this place for a long time. Okay, now listen, you got good ideas. Baby, you got good ideas. Your execution is not as good, okay? Your follow through, not as good. The ideas though are great. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And that doesn't mean it's not for you, but right now, these last few months, few years, you know what I'm talking about. Baby, it ain't been working for you, okay? And you doing a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay, you done got yourself in some mess, and it's time for you to get a job. You hear me? You just gonna need to get a job for a little while. Okay, it don't mean your ideas ain't good. Okay, don't mean that maybe one day you could be a good entrepreneur. But you have proven to yourself and everybody else that you owe money to, okay, that it ain't working right now. Okay, it ain't worked for a while. It actually has never worked yet. Doesn't mean it won't ever work. But right now you need to go to work. You gonna need to get a job, okay? And then keep working towards it. But at least you'll have a job while you are pursuing that thing. But right now, you need to get a job, baby. All right? That's it. I love you. Now go about your business. Okay, have a good night. Tomorrow, have a good day. But even if you can't have a good one, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's here. Don't be mad at me. Okay?
Now, I did not see the video. I follow Tabitha, but for some reason on Instagram, she posted on Instagram, she posted on TikTok, she posted it on where else could she post it? I don't know, Instagram and TikTok. It was in both places. So I don't know why I didn't see it, but I didn't see the video. But what I did see was the blowback to the video. I did see people saying how uncomfortable the video made them feel. So I was like, what are people referencing? I went over to her page. I watched the video. I read the comments posted underneath the video, which were a lot tamer than comments I was seeing posted elsewhere on the internet. And there seemed to be a big divide between people who were upset with what she had to say and people who didn't understand why anybody would be upset. And so I wanted to use this moment in time to talk specifically about the state of working right now in America, specifically when it comes to Black women. And of course, you know me, I'm going to make it about me a little bit. Because I think if you're not somebody who is desperately and aggressively impacted by the current job market and what's currently happening, then you might take something like she said just at face value, which I want to be clear for me at face value. When I went and watched that video, I was like, I think this came across a little mean. I think it was pointed at a specific person or a specific issue, though. I don't think it applies to me. I don't know if I care that much about what she's talking about specifically, but I'm also a little sensitive to it because of what's happening in the job market. Like I was able to look at it and kind of break it down from a lot of different angles sort of immediately. But I do want to say I don't think her intent was malicious. I just think it was incredibly, incredibly ill timed. Right message, wrong time to deliver that message. So let's talk a little bit about why it sucks so much right now to be an American who is trying to work. 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs since the beginning of the year. They have left the job sector. A lot of people think that this is because, or according to reports, this is because of DEI efforts that were ended. So Black women who may have had roles in those positions in specific companies, they have had to walk away from those roles. Layoffs within the federal job market, people who have those good government jobs. I grew up my whole life knowing that that was kind of like a very, very safe and credible job field to head for, working for the federal government. And we started this year off with that federal government doing massive, massive layoffs across the board. And a lot of Black women were victim to those layoffs. It was so jolting. Being aware of that I feel a lot of cognitive dissonance happened, because at the same time, Black women were being told, we just need to rest. We're going to sit this one out. We did our job back in November. Let everybody else FAFO, right? You know, we didn't vote this administration in, so we're just going to rest and focus on our peace. But yet Black women were losing their jobs. It's hard to be peaceful when you have no income. This doesn't even just apply to Black women. As a whole, right now, unemployment is so bad that there are more people who are looking for jobs than jobs that are available. You had a huge city like New York back in July, freeze hiring, and they only had 1,000 new jobs, for that month. I don't know what happened in August, but I remember hearing that and just thinking, oh my God, like how are we going to make it through this? And I think one of the most heartbreaking things for me when it comes to this whole subject is how this current market is affecting new graduates. You have people that are graduating with degrees that we were told for years were the right degree to have. So things like computer science, and they don't have anywhere to work because of developments in AI and how AI itself is coming in and giving companies the impetus that they need to go ahead and lay off thousands of people. You have people that went to school, majored in these subjects, and they're getting out and there's nothing for them. That really, really affects me, and that really, really speaks to me, because I remember being a new graduate, being a young woman, and going out into the recession, the Great Recession of like 2000, whatever to whatever, and wishing that I'd had just a better degree, because everybody wasn't not hiring, but a lot of people weren't. But there were still factors and businesses and places where you could get a good job. And I feel like my experiences in my early 20s, not being able to start my life appropriately by going into and finding that good corporate job or whatever, affected my relationship with work throughout my life. And as such, I'm very sensitive to other people telling you what you should do and what your attitude should be around working. Now, again, I know that Tabitha did not necessarily mean, hey, if you're, an entrepreneur, give it up no matter who you are. But I do think that delivering that message was an incredibly poor taste, because again, a lot of her target market is Black women, and Black women are unequally suffering in what is happening right now in our economy. I want to talk for a second about Tabitha's target audience being Black women. So I do think that a big part of why she gained so much traction when it came to her career in social media is because she had crossover appeal. You have a lot of people that gain 1 million followers. I'm actually surprised when I'm scrolling on TikTok. I'm surprised by how many people actually have 1 million followers, and there's really nothing that comes of it. They just have 1 million followers. And I mean, I'm sure they have great brand deals. I'm sure they get great opportunities as content creators, but do they have licensing deals with Target? Do they have books in bookstores? Are they heading national book tours? Are they the face of natural hair conventions? Are they also working as an actor? Do they also have merchandise? Are they also heading travel groups with their families? Like, the success that Tabitha Brown achieved through social media is, I feel like, unprecedented. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she did have that crossover appeal. When she got on camera and she was like, "'Cause that's my business. Hello there." Like so, like that. I think those colloquialisms, that way of speaking, spoke to, and you can be negative about this or positive about this. It depends. It's what you want to do. But it spoke to a very familiar and very comfortable caricature of Black womanhood. People respond very well to that idea of that soft, nurturing, almost grandmother like personality. I didn't realize Tab was so young when she blew up. I didn't realize that. I thought when I first came across that woman, I was like, oh, she's late 40s. Tabitha Brown is like 3 years my senior. Like, and I had no idea. And I remember showing that to somebody earlier this year. I was like, yo, she's young. And they were like, I would have said mid 50s. And that's because of that caricature and being able to give off that energy. It's a very powerful, I don't want to say role to play, because if that's really who she is, I don't know her personally. If that's really who she is, I don't want to say she's being disingenuous. But a lot of social media success has to do with the role people think that you're playing. Are you being a, sort of reserved, objective purveyor of information? Are you dramatic and funny? Are you just funny? Are you incredibly bubbly and intelligent? Are you a warm and comforting and mature homemaker type energy that makes people feel comfortable? I also think that Tabitha came around, I remember her really, really gaining popularity in 2020. And around that time, I think people needed someone that they could just watch guilt free. What is controversial about somebody making bacon out of carrots? What is controversial about somebody making jackfruit sandwiches? What is controversial about that? Nothing. I also remember one of the first videos I ever saw from her. Somebody shared it. I think it was Solange. And Solange was like, I think it was Solange. I want to say it was, but it might not have been her, but it could have been her. But it might not have. But anyway, she basically said, the person that shared this, it was a very high up in Hollywood type of person. And she basically said, this type of video makes me feel so peaceful. And what it was Tabitha having a smoothie in her backyard. So all of those things, that non-confrontational, sensate, like, she's very, very calming, and there's nothing really to get mad. There was no controversy there. And then she has that welcoming icon of Black womanhood that across racial lines we've been taught is like our universal safe space. Like when people say to I remember there was this guy who came out a couple years ago and he was like, if you're ever lost, I always tell my children to go find a Black woman. They say that because of women like Tabitha Brown, or like how she presents online. That, hello there. Well, come on, baby. Well, I have right here a smoothie for you, and I'm gonna help you find your mama. That is who you want your kid to run into, right? When they're lost in the world. So I definitely think that while she is a Black woman, and while she has her characterization is very Black, she definitely had that crossover appeal. And so that's what led to her having such success in Target and other places. She's somebody that everybody can buy into and feel comfortable about liking. Now, on the other hand, though, Tabitha is still a Black woman. And something that I have noticed about Black audiences is that when one of us is doing something, it is immediately assumed that it is for us. Like, yeah, she can have white fans. Yeah, you have, but you're one of us. I feel that way as a Black YouTuber. I remember I was reading somewhere, somebody was categorizing me and someone else, and they were like, yeah, they're like the Black YouTube communities, ... And it wasn't a nice thing they were saying. And I was like, well, thanks for, I guess, bringing me in and assigning me a community. But I don't know that I like the part that I play here. And also, I have people that watch me that are all different races and, et cetera. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think the Black community, we are very, very big on, if you are one of us, then you belong to us. And so I think a lot of people assume whenever she jumps on her camera, whenever she jumps on her screen, whenever Tabitha says anything, she's automatically talking to Black people. I didn't necessarily see that. I thought she was talking to her followers, her subscribers, but a lot of people do that. And what's crazy to me is we will sit back as a Black community and we will say, we're not all a monolith. We're not all the same. And yet we'll be the first ones to say, okay, what is a community? What are we doing about this? How do we feel about this person? And when Tabitha does what she did, make a video like that, I immediately saw people saying, is she talking to Black women? Why would she say this to Black women? Now, I didn't take it that way, but I can understand why it was taken that way. I think as a creator, one of the most responsible things that you need to be able to do is to understand who your target demographic is, who's the people that are taking the most ownership over what you're doing. Like I said, I think Tabitha has that crossover appeal. Her character, her representation publicly is something that a lot of people can buy into and do so with very, very little guilt, very, very little controversy. It costs nothing for somebody to be a Tabitha Brown fan. They don't have to do a lot of extra work. They don't have to, I compare like a Tabitha Brown to like a Amanda Seales. If you want to publicly support her, if you're a white person that publicly supports her, there's a little bit more work you have to do. There's a little bit more, whatever. And I'm not going into I could go a different place with the Amanda Seales thing, but I'm not going to go there. Again, what I'm going to say is, when you are a creator, you need to know who is taking the most ownership of you. So who your words and your opinions and your thoughts might hurt the most in the most visceral way. And I think when Tabitha made that video, she was not considering that there are so many Black women out of work right now. She wasn't considering it. I don't think it's her reality. I also don't think that she was paying attention to the fact that even though as Black people, we love to do things like deliver just the most heart-wrenching, earth-shattering advice, and then we say, but I'm giving you this with love. We actually, low-key, the secret is we are actually offended by that advice. It doesn't matter if you, and I say this with love, it doesn't matter. If I didn't ask you and I'm taking what you say and I'm applying it to me, which I don't necessarily think that's a smart thing to do on social media, but that's what a lot of people do. If I didn't ask you and here you come with this, it doesn't matter if you say, I say this with love. You're still offensive. It's still offensive. Your tone is offensive. And I don't think she understands that. I also want to talk for a second about the concept of leaving entrepreneurship at a time like this. So one of the things that I saw back in the beginning of the year when a lot of people started losing their government jobs, those good government jobs started being wiped away by this new administration, I saw a lot of advice being given to people that I looked at as like really, really milquetoast advice, really a lot of toxic positivity, and a lot of it was just not based in reality at all. And a lot of it had to do with telling people to, okay, this is rejection is protection, baby. This is God putting you on your right path. Time to go start a business. I feel like this year I have seen more people tell people to go start a business, even though unless your business is like online, unless you are a content creator and you can, you're not necessarily working for brand deals, but you're working off of views. And so you're like, okay, this is going to be my business. Trying to sell anything to people right now is really, really difficult. And I know there's some people out there who could be like, that's just being negative. But I'm going to be real with you. I have seen so many companies recently post about having to close their doors, not being able, they can't afford the price of their materials anymore. They can't afford to ship things out because of the tariffs. And I'm not quite sure what happened at the end of last month. I know somebody said, a judge came out and said, he can't do this with the tariffs. But before that announcement came out, I saw a lot of information about companies being able to say, I can't afford to keep the lights on. And even outside of that, we have some things that tend to happen to Black businesses around ownership and having money to run successful ventures. So we had what happened with the young woman who had the cosmetics company. And I felt so bad when I found out about her makeup brand, and I don't even know the name of it. There's so many makeup brands in the past few years. I didn't even know, I haven't really been in Sephora's like that in the past few years, but I've, of course, by now put her makeup brand here up on the screen. But this young woman had to bow out. She was doing so much. She was trying so hard. She was in Sephora, but it still wasn't enough. She did not have the seed money. And a lot of people brought up the fact that, like, Hailey Bieber with her Road Beauty, she never had to worry about running out of seed money. Well, of course, she's married to Justin Bieber, but it was so much easier for companies to jump on and champion her. Now, I will say that Hailey did have viral products. That Road lip mask that came out, I think it was Christmas of 2023. I don't know what happened to me, but I was overtaken by all of the lip gloss girlies. And if you watched my Vlogmas at that time, I was like, okay, I have this one and this one. It was like I was 12 years old again. I don't know. I got wrapped up in consumerism. But the Rhode lip peptide mask, whatever it was, that was like the leader. That was the most socially viral lip product that was out at that time. And then she came out with that glazing milk that people like. So look, she may only have 4 products, but she's succeeded in having socially important products, right? And I don't know that the creator whose company, she's like, I can't afford this anymore. I don't know that she's had this same reality. Not only that, but you had a whiskey company, a black owner of a whiskey company this year ran into some issues with her investors. So sometimes somebody's having a hard time with entrepreneurship, especially when it comes to black women, because of things that are outside of their control. Like they're trying very hard. And I know that, again, Tabitha's not necessarily talking to people that have things that happen that are out of their control, but she's more so talking to people that don't have a great work ethic, etc. I feel like her message was so succinct and really meant for a specific individual. Maybe, she was talking about, you've been burning bridges and doing. I really don't feel like that's everybody. I feel like that's very, very specific. Yeah, and the last thing that I want to say specifically about her message and black women entrepreneurs is when she said, just go get a job. Once again, like, the jobs aren't there necessarily. This is not 3 years ago when, people could just go get a little office job and, leave one job on their lunch break and be at a new job after lunch. And every day almost I see a message like this pop up online. If you have a job, this is not the time to quit. Stay as long as you can. And that's really, that's sad if somebody's in a situation where maybe their job is toxic, or maybe their job is not, they don't feel that it's, to the best of their ability. Maybe they're working with a boss that is, it's right now, the environment emotionally is so sensitive that I think it was in extremely poor taste to post something like this publicly. And once again, it comes down to knowing who your target market is. While I think the comments on Tabitha's page are mostly positive, I think it's because people are protective of her. She's had kind of a tough year when it comes to her target demographic, black people, black women specifically. It started back in January with the whole Target debacle. I had my opinions on that at the time. And one thing I've realized as a black content creator whose majority of my market is other black people, specifically black women, is that there are certain things that I'm not one band, one sound on. And it's not necessarily worth me putting my opinion out if it's going to cause too much disruption for no reason. Every thought, every opinion doesn't need to be shared. So I had my opinions about Target, the whole Target thing, the Target boycotts. I haven't been in one all year. Well, actually, I've been 3 times, but I used to go 3 times to 5 times a week. So, but I wasn't necessarily in agreement with everyone, especially when it came to black-owned businesses that were in the store. People expecting Tabitha to overnight pull all her products out. People expecting black businesses who had, because the thing is that for years it was seen as being such a level up, such an achievement to get on those Target shelves. And then all of a sudden overnight, people expected these business owners who had employees and were on the line for certain shipment, like they expected them to just shut everything down and move everything out because Target made this decision. And I think while ideologically that made a lot of sense, I don't think it was a fair thing to ask black business owners to do so quickly. And I feel like Tabitha, because she was the biggest target, people went after her first. And I don't think that was necessarily fair. I also want to say it was funny to me that people were going after Tabitha and telling her what she needed to do from their Instagram accounts. Instagram is owned by Meta, which is Facebook's parent company. Facebook has been recalled all the DEI. People were going after Tabitha from their YouTube accounts, who was right next to our current president on his inauguration day, the president and CEO of YouTube, of Google, which owns YouTube. There is no ethical business running right now underneath the current administration that we have. When those edicts came down in January, they really cut a lot of people off at the knees, specifically Black business owners. It was hard to say, I'm being ethical, I'm helping my community, I'm one in the struggle, when things were happening so quickly. And this particular administration has shown that they're very masterful. They have a lot of very incendiary and nefarious plans, and they continue to do evil things in spite of boycotts, in spite of, So again, I have my opinions on that. But I do think that Tabitha definitely she herself burned bridges. And I don't think it was a difficult time. She's been in a difficult place with her target market, with certain people. And so I feel like people wanted to protect her with this particular situation. And she doubled down. She was like, no, I wasn't talking to people who were trying to get jobs. I was talking to, that's the kind of message that right now, you need to share it exactly with who you meant it for, not for everybody. Because I think there are more people right now who are just trying to figure out anything. And the biggest thing is that it's not that easy to just go and get a job. It's not that easy. I want really quickly, before I close this video out, to talk about the young woman with the $55,000 salaries. I said in the video I posted yesterday that I was going to talk about it in a different video, and I guess this will be the one to do it. So when I first heard about what was happening with the cutting room floor and how she was offering that $55,000 salary to be a assistant or to do whatever, again, I was not as enraged as a lot of people were, because I went to school for a creative career and I know how badly people are treated in those industries until they're not. It is understood that you are going to be working 12, 14, 15, 16-hour days. It is understood that you're going to have 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 roommates until the end of time. I know people in their early 50s who live in LA and still have roommates because they work in that industry. They work in the industry. Okay. It is understood that you're not going to get no benefits unless I know there are ways to get benefits. I know there are, things you can sign up for, but you have to work a certain amount of hours. And if you don't complete the hours, you don't have access to your health insurance anymore. It's understood that it's not a inviting industry, and that the reward is being able to say that you can do this work, that you've done this work. And so for me, when I saw the job offer, or, I saw people getting so upset, I was just like, well, when I initially saw it, I just said, that chapter from my life is closed. You will not catch me out hustling, staying at a job for 12 to 18 hours just so I can say, I was in the room. I mean, it would be great to be in the room, but at what cost? Okay. I think there was recently a director that was working on a film, and he was rather young, and he dropped dead working on the film or working on the production. And someone came out and said, look, I have his same job. This shit is hard. And you don't really have anybody you can go to and say, oh my God, no, people are just like, get over it. That's the vibe in the creative world. And it's tough, but it really is like survival of the fittest. And then it's randomly people who find these safe little bubbles to work in, and are very well taken care of in that world. So it's kind of like this, it's just this big disparity. And so when I saw that job, I was like, I understand why people outside of these industries are upset, especially right now, the time that we're in, but it's not her fault that that's the kind of job that she offers. She probably thought she was really doing something with that 55,000 too, because honestly, a job like that, I can see somebody offering 30,000, and people were like, oh, well, she's in New York. Listen, it's not, look, there's a reason why whenever actors or actresses are talking to their kids, they're like, oh my God, I told her to try and do anything else. Oh, this is horrible. It's not great. It's not great. But there were a lot of people who shamed Rachel, who shamed the EP of the cutting room floor. They're like, you should know better. This is terrible. I can't believe. And someone made a video and they had a completely different take on it. And I didn't expect this person to pop back up on my FYP. The last time she did was a couple years ago. She made a video about being touch starved because she was like, I'm a single person. I live alone. And I don't even have, I haven't even had a hug in so long. I'm very touch starved. And she was crying and it went viral and everyone was like, thank you for your vulnerability, blah, 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 you know. But she was also being talked about really, really badly because her video made it over to the shade room. It made it over to, you know, wherever, the neighborhood talk. And I just said, oh my God, there but for the grace of God go I. That's why I just make fart videos on TikTok, apparently. But you'll never see me being super vulnerable on there. You'll never, because ooh, I no thank you. Been there, done that in a way, right? I don't think I was ever on Shade Room, but anyway. So Maite, that's her name, had this to say about the situation.
I'm actually finding myself getting triggered by the cutting room floor 55K conversation, because when people are like, who's gonna apply to that job? Bitch, me. I literally looked at it and was like, I might as fucking well. I've been unemployed for a fucking year. I'm waiting to hear back from TJ Maxx. I have to walk 40 minutes to Fordham right now to go to some career thing and see if that leads me like fucking anywhere. 55K is abysmal. Yeah, I have 15 years of experience. I worked at some really amazing companies and I can't find shit. I'm only not homeless because my brother is taking mercy on me and I've been burdening him since, like, it's me. I would have applied for it with no Medicare. 'Cause why? What does it matter? What does it matter? Honestly, the only reason I didn't isn't even because of the 55K. It isn't because of no benefits. It isn't because it's just junior level. I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to figure out how to pivot. I'm trying to figure out fucking anything to sustain myself. The reason I did it is because she sounds like she would be a terrible boss. And I don't mind terrible bosses if it's a larger company. But a company of 4, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. So I was like, no, bitch, you cannot do that. That's like a little bit too much. But I did consider it. I did. Like, I did. And I don't think y'all know, like, that's humiliating. This job market is humiliating. I'm a professional. I have a career. What the fuck was I doing even considering a job like that? This job market is ass. So that's who would have applied for the job, not the fucking Nepo babies or nobody. It would have been me. Like, thank God I have SNAP and I have Medicaid so that I can get a health insurance and I can eat. And Trump keeps talking with them every 2 fucking seconds. Like, I don't think y'all understand. Like, the reason I'm crying, I can't believe I'm at this point where I'm like, oh yeah, I would absolutely let myself get exploited by a job.
I didn't even think about that. In my mind, it was like, you're either mad because you think that what she's offering is inhumane, although for the industry, it's actually not that bad, or you want the job because you're hungry to get in there and start your career as a creative, whatever it is. I didn't even think about the fact that there are people out there who are struggling so much that they will literally, they'll take anything. $55,000 a year is better than $0 a year. I think for a lot of us, we're just now waking up to how bad the job market is because it's really bad right now. But there are people who have been unemployed for 1 year, 2 years. They've sent out so many applications. They're trying very, very hard. And they may have turned to entrepreneurship to try and fix that. And that's not working either. I really feel like Tabitha just doesn't realize what a situation her audience might be in, and was really speaking from just like her personal whatever. And when you have an audience the size that she does, you cannot afford to do that. If you have a specific personal point, you need to call that person up and tell them. She's way too big of a creator to be sub-tweeting or sub-Instagramming or sub-TikToking, whatever, because people are in such dire straits when it comes to employment. Kid gloves, kindness, and sometimes the best way to treat somebody with love is to not say anything at all. Keep it to the smoothies and the Miss Donna, you know, your natural hair, whatever, and stay out of talking about people's career ambitions or job ambitions, because even if you didn't mean it for everybody, people are so sensitive right now, especially your target demographic, that they're going to take it personally. And a lot of people did take it really personally. It didn't even matter if that's what she meant or not. This is not the time to be saying those things. I just wanted to comment on this, and now I have to go and edit my other project. That is all. Thank you for watching.